everything that's ever existed on this planet for the last 4 billion years comes from a single origin. So every living thing on Earth at the moment is based on DNA. So we all share the same basic genetic code. How it works as a code is
joyous this week with the return of Sarah Palin. Now, I find sometimes life a dull cesspool which never has any kind of brightness in it. And then I switched on my...
But also, it's a glorious countryside, and I guess I am fairly...
My favourite Doctor Who idea is the fact that one day I might be killed by a robot Bertie Bassett. A muted response there, but a nod from the expert.
Hello, my name is Faye Dowker.
I'm say that as an insult. Possibly, if there is a God, then he's in my world as well. but so in Christian theology, let me put it that way. In Christian theology, God sits outside of time.
I think this is something which... This is Anglican hesitation here.
The job more efficiently, however.
Susan.
This was sent in by Ma Elietta Abdul from London, and it's a description of an ad.
And then you get an answer, most likely, right here in this window in real time. I'll have it out later for tech demos. Now, the thing is, of course, I mean, so I've made some decisions.
Well, it's bridge, isn't it?
In 5.9 miles, take exit 42 onto A63 towards Selby.
Build a bridge.
Correspondents described themselves as British, prompted most of the correspondence this week. Here's Roger Hicks. Dear Laurie, of course Muslims identify as British, but not because they identify with the country, its people and history, but because of all the personal advantages that go with British citizenship. And John Anderson had another rather different reservation. Laurie, you queried the results of the survey into Muslim attitudes, which showed Muslims in Britain did not feel... Sorry, you quoted the results of the survey into Muslim attitudes, which showed Muslims in Britain did not feel any problem with being both Muslim and British. But you didn't cover the possible effect of fear or concern that if a Muslim replied, yes, I do feel my faith conflicts with Britishness, they would be branded as potential extremists. And Peter Simmons had this concern about the findings. Note that in the US it is African Americans, Mexican Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, all Americans. In the UK it is British Muslims. The first word is subservient to the second, which is the important word. Thus they are all Americans, but British is merely a descriptive of where these Muslims are living. Alan McLaughlin had quite other matters on his mind. Laurie, I was amazed that you considered Cockneys to be over-sentimental when you were living in Liverpool. This is a city which must have the most sentimental population in the whole of the country. And while Liverpool's in the air, I can't readily resist this response by Paul Slade to my reference to a taxi driver who explained that he only continually listened to a pop music radio station because it stopped his passengers from talking to him. He writes, Paul writes, many years ago the excellent John Peel read out a letter from a cab driver called Dave who said he would be out in his cab as that night's show was being broadcast and asked Peely to play something noisy to frighten the passengers. Well, Peel responded to the letter with a 500-mile-per-hour death metal track full of ear-shredding guitars and guttural vocals about feeding next-door neighbours' toddlers to Satan.